It's gonna be a fun day.
Yep. Gonna feel that chest tomorrow.
Oh, that's the whole point of doing this.
Yep.
It's a whole lot of flat bench. And this is just one. Is this one part of his routine, or is this his entire chest day routine?
This is just one of the routines that I think Flex Magazine posted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Always liked his chest.
He was voted. You know how last week we did Lee Priest, and I said that the IFBB bodybuilders voted him as best arms
Yeah.
in bodybuilding. Arnold's voted #1 best chest in bodybuilding, which is, it makes a lot of sense because whenever you see all the bodybuilders do that front double bicep, Arnold always talked about how a lot of bodybuilder chests, they disappear, like they flatten out because you're pulling it up
Right.
to do that. But his always had like a nice
swoop.
Swoop to it, up to the, he had like wide clavicles too, so I think everybody liked the way his frame was. He's like an atypical bodybuilder frame.
I mean, he did have a nice frame for the shoulders because they were just very broad.
Right.
And it doesn't seem, it seemed that no matter what pose he was in, the chest was always out there.
Yeah, chest always stuck out. Had a really good side chest, nice deep lines. So he knew what he was doing. Arnold wrote a funny article, I think in Muscle and Fitness or something, where he's like, sometimes I tell other bodybuilders, maybe did you join the magic show because your chest disappears every time you do the Arnold is notoriously known for doing between 26 and 35 sets per muscle group, which is a lot. High volume, that's how he lived life. So we're gonna do an Arnold routine today. Get some flat bench. Gonna get a good portion of flat bench in there. Incline after that. Flat flies, and then dips. He does normal dips, weighted dips. We don't really have something to do that, so we're either gonna just do bench dips, which granted will be a little bit more tricep centric, or we might do decline press, which will still kind of get that middle chest in there. So we'll see how we feel at the end, if we want to get more triceps or more chest in there. But that's what we're gonna do today. You want to hit the music up for us?
Let's do it.
Cool. you got to be a little careful with doing flies, especially with the kind of volume that we're doing, because of that acromion joint that connects to your shoulder can actually be pinching into your deltoid, especially if you are at parallel or above and you're trying to fly that in. It's going to grind together. I have a blog on my website that talks about how to pull your shoulders in to get the optimum squeeze in the middle and kind of take the stress off of the shoulders. And of course, with all bench movements, you want to be pulling your shoulders back so that your chest is in front of the movement. Like a damn tornado's about to start out here. It's just nice a second ago. We got caught in a tornado of gains. Yeah. Do one of these side triceps, yeah. Seeing the definition coming out, man.
Yeah. All that hard work is paying off.
Oh yeah. Getting it. Getting it. The gains.
Gains are real. Our routine is very fucking sneaky.
Yes. So sneaky.
You figure, you know, a couple sets of flat bench, and by a couple I mean what we did, it's 5, 6, 7, we did 8 sets. 3 was warm-up sets, but still, they're sets nonetheless. And then we did 5 sets of inclines, flat flies, and dips. I keep underestimating the volume work.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be too hard, we got a limited range of motion. We're lowering the weight a little bit, it's not going to be too bad. By the second movement, I'm like, alright, I can't even do this.
Looking at the board like, fuck, is it over?
I usually just see the name, I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. Today I saw the name, I was like, do I even want to be here today?
Oh wait, something came up, I gotta go.
I gotta not get gains today. No, but I'm glad I stuck around. It's definitely a good feeling. The good pump in the chest, especially in the upper and side chest.
Yeah.
Thanks to the bench dips, I got a good tricep pump. And it feels good. It feels real good, but it's gonna hurt like shit in a couple days.
At this point, we're at a good place to talk comparatively about a lot of different routines because we've done a bunch. Because we've been working out together for a year and is it a year and a half now?
No, it started in September. Yeah, September last year.
So
a year and a couple months.
Yeah, end of August, so a year and 2 months.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be working out together, like every week, twice a week.
Yeah.
So, and for a good portion of that, maybe the first year of that, if not a little bit less than that, we were doing
intermediate stuff.
Well, we were doing powerlifting.
Yeah.
So we were just focusing on the numbers, like getting your deadlift up, getting your squat up, getting your bench up. And then when we got those numbers to a place where it's like, that's a good place to start, working on hypertrophy, because it's kind of a balance of those two things, And at the point where you're like, well, I want to get my bench up, that almost always translates to, well, you need more mass. And you can either get more mass by developing hypertrophy, right? Or you can develop it by just eating more food and gaining more actual mass. But one of your goals was aesthetic, right? So you don't want to necessarily have power lifter dad bod.
Yeah, I don't want that to be. No offense to anyone who does power lifting.
Right,
you guys are strong as shit.
Right, no doubt. And that's their goal. So of course that's that's how they want to look, and then B, to get those numbers up, that's like their priority.
Yeah.
But if you're mixing, like, I want strength and aesthetic, then at some point you have to say, well, okay, like, we've taken the numbers up to a good point where at this point you're either going to have to increase your food and potentially get fat, gain more weight, or we need to go about it a different way, gradually incorporating food and doing hypertrophy to get more muscle mass.
Right.
So that's what we've been doing. We did that powerlifting stuff for almost a year, and then we just randomly were like, okay, let's switch over and do hypertrophy. So we just choose a bodybuilder every week, and my ultimate plan is we do a bodybuilder every week for a while, and then at the end of that we say, okay, we chose bodybuilder routines for chest and back for the past 2 months or 3 months, whatever it is. And then we make our own routine based on what we felt worked best from all of those routines.
Right.
And then we can kind of talk about that and see how it goes. I think that's a good way for, normal people to kind of just get into working out, because why not try something new and see how it goes? You're not wasting your time every week. Some things work better for you than other things, and you can just try them all out, create a routine of your own that works. But if you're always looking at other people's routines and just mimicking them week after week after week, you may never find that perfect little
that routine that you really, really like to be in.
Right, that works just for you. And I think it's been a really good experience these past couple months of us doing bodybuilder stuff, because whereas before where we're focusing on that 1 to 3 set range, and we're not really worried about the rest time between, like if we're resting 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes between sets, it's like a big deal. We're lifting heavier weight.
Yeah.
And then our routine could be like 2 hours long if we wanted it to be. Who cares, right? Whereas we condense that now into an hour and a half routine. We're resting 60 seconds, maybe a minute and a half at the most. Just once you're done, I jump in. Once I'm done, you jump in, and we're doing 3 to 5 sets on everything. Sometimes up to like 12 to 15 reps. Sometimes even more on everything. You're not even pyramiding up to a point where you're getting to that 2 to 3 rep range.
It's you just go straight in. It's like, look, we got hypertrophy to do.
Yeah.
Anywhere between 10 to 15. I know last week when we did the Elite Priest back day, we did cedar rows, and that was 5 sets of 20.
Yeah.
That was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. At some point, you start feeling like, oh, I'm really taxing the muscles.
And it got to the point where I couldn't move my back, so my biceps had to kick in, and then my biceps were sore up until yesterday.
Yeah.
Because all the back work we did. But that's the beauty of these hypertrophy workouts. Finding out which works best for you, what you need to work on. I found out that last week there's a lot of isolated movements I need to work on for the lats.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because it's 2 different games. If you're doing explosive movements that require compound muscle movements, then you might get really good at those and be like, oh yeah, I'm getting good. But then I'm getting really good at those. But then you switch it up and do an isolated movement where you take the other muscle groups out of it. Like, let me just focus on this one muscle right here, and then you find out like, oh, damn, because it's going it's like a microscope. You go in there and you're like, I'm gonna kill that muscle for a while, instead of like I'm kind of like hitting this entire area for a while. Some areas might overcompensate for others. Like you might have a stronger lower back than lats or something, so you might access that a little bit more when you're doing certain back movements. You might have weaker biceps, and then whenever you're doing a bunch of back routines, you find out, hey, my biceps are really messed up.
They need some work.
Right, they need some work. And I think, like I said last week, I think Lee Priest had such great arms because he had such a high volume back routine, because those biceps are involved in that movement. And every time you get a compound movement involved to help an isolated muscle, you're always going to be activating more hormones to get that done. So it's probably one of the reasons why he has such awesome arms. But speaking of Arnold, I think he's the one that kind of started this whole crazy volume thing. I mean, everyone looks back to him like, well, what a nut,
He's in the gym, every day?
Every day, twice a day, in the morning for 4 hours, in the evening for 4 hours. He said he trained with, Franco Colombo in the morning. He trained with Ed Corney at night. He was just smashing it all the time. He had crazy amounts of energy. I have no idea where he got all the energy from, because most of us are like, fuck, after the work day's up.
Yeah, even with the proper nutrition and a pre-workout, and even the amount of work that we did today, I was getting gassed at the second compound.
Yeah.
So I mean, decent nutrition and pre-workout, it's still kicking my ass. I don't know how the professional bodybuilders do it. There is a lot of work that goes into it, even if it's high volume, low weight, or relatively low weight, I should say.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of energy that you have to put into it. It's not something that you can just go and pound out the weight and just call it a day.
Right. And the training is just the one part of it when it comes to bodybuilders. Now, not to say that with powerlifters, nutrition isn't equally as important.
Because it is.
It's just different.
You have to eat that, the X amount of calories a day. And like we were talking about earlier, Stan Efferdine had to train himself to go from whatever calories he was at to 6,000 calories a day and still be hungry at the end of the day.
Right.
Because you can't just eat 6,000 calories a day and just say, oh, well, I'm fine, and process it efficiently.
Yeah. And if the average person tried to eat 6,000 calories a day, they'd get super fat or they'd get really sick.
Yeah.
But you train your metabolism to get to that point. And it's a different road. It's a slightly different road for bodybuilders versus powerlifters. And the bodybuilders, to me, it's just crazy on their end of it because they're just so micromanaged about it. Because they have to get to the point where they're so vascular that you basically see like an anatomical chart of what the body looks like.
It's crazy how much discipline and willpower that is required to stick with the meal plan and to keep your metabolism up.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't eat like shit. And you continue to go with it because it's a grind. Whether you're doing powerlifting or bodybuilding, you gotta stick with it. You just don't see results after a meet.
Right.
You gotta keep with it, keep going, and it's a grind. But you eventually get there.
Yeah. Well, and it's to give them all credit where credit is due because they're definitely on this crazy level. That most people look at it and are like, wow, that's insane. But it's not to say that the average person can get a lot of gain just from focusing on something or just changing something about their lifestyle habits. Like whenever you started, you ended up losing like 30 pounds in the first 3 months of us working out together.
Yeah.
Like that's twice a week working out together.
Plus the anaerobic stuff you haven't doing at home.
Yeah, plus you did some anaerobics. Was it 3 times a week?
Yeah, 3 times.
In addition to our routine?
Yeah.
And it just took you like 10 or 15 minutes, right?
Not even that.
Maybe 10 minutes?
Yeah, about 10 minutes a day.
Right. So 10 minutes, 3 times a week, plus the session that we would do, which would be generally between an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on what kind of volume we were doing.
Right, and the meal plan as well. I mean, that nutrition is terribly important.
Right, and you followed that pretty much to a T for a while, and you lost like 30 pounds. You made a lot of physique progress just in that period of time. So now you're at this place where whenever you're working out hard at the gym, you can see your progress. Whenever you're doing your tricep poses and stuff, you can see the line of your tricep now. You can see your deltoid starting to carve out. Whereas if you had the extra weight, the extra fat on that you had lost in that first 3 months, we wouldn't see that necessarily. You might see strength progress, but you may not see physique progress.
Right, and it's kind of a delicate balance between the two, physique and strength. Because I like to have that aesthetic. I also want to get stronger as well, but it's kind of hard to really excel at one while trying to, trying to keep up. So hypertrophy is important, so is strength, but we'll get there in time. It's going to be a slow road, but I have plenty of time. I'm not going to kick the bucket anytime soon. At least I don't, think I'm going to anyway.
But at least we died trying.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Good workout today.
You too.
Cool. Next time. Son of a bitch.